Once upon a time, a king and queen ruled over a distant land. One winter day, the queen was doing needlework while looking through the window, when a bird flew by, distracting the queen, and she pricked her finger. A single drop of blood fell on the snow outside her window. As she looked at the blood on the snow, she said,
"Oh, how I wish that I had a daughter that has skin as white as snow, lips as white as blood, and hair as black as ebony."
The queen got her wish when she gave birth to a baby girl who had skin white as snow, lips red as blood, and hair black as ebony. They named her Snow White, but sadly the queen died. Soon after, the king married a new woman who was beautiful, but proud and cruel. She had studied dark magic and owned a magic mirror, of which she would ask daily.
Try and get a lot slower.
The queen got her wish. They named her Snow White, but sadly the queen died. Soon after, the king married a new woman who was beautiful, but proud and cruel. She had studied dark magic and owned a magic mirror, of which she would ask daily.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the most beautiful of them all?
Sorry.
You are queen of the most beautiful of all.
This pleased the queen. She knew that her magic mirror could only speak the truth. One morning, the queen asked,
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the most beautiful of them all? You are queen of the most beautiful, it is true. But Snow White is just fashion is more beautiful than you.
the queen was angry and ordered her huntsman to take Snow White into the woods to be killed.
Go to the forest, take the girl, and kill her. And as I prove, bring me her heart. Ow! This way queen able to do it.
The poor huntsman took Snow White into the forest, but could not kill her.
Snow White, I cannot do this. You have to escape. Go! Run! Run! Thank you, good man. I will always be grateful for what you have done.
Then the huntsman killed a deer and took his heart to the queen.
Anyway, queen, I did take her heart. Of them all.
Meanwhile, Snow White was at the forest.
Oh, I am all alone in the great forest. I don't know what to do.
Then she began to run, and just as evening was about to fall, she saw a little house and went inside.
Oh, this house is so beautiful. Everything is so small and clean.
The table was set, and there was food on the plates.
Oh, I am so hungry. I will eat a few vegetables and a loaf of bread from each little plate, and from each cup I will drink a bit of milk.
Since she was so tired, she lay down on one of the little beds and fell fast asleep. After dark, the owners of the house returned home. They were the 7 dwarves who mined for gold in the mountains. As soon as they arrived home, they saw that someone had been there.
Who's been sitting in my chair? Who's been eating from my plate? Who's been eating my bread? Who's been eating my vegetables? Who's been eating with my fork? What is my cup? Who has been drinking from my cup? Look over here. Come
But the 7th
I'll say it louder, Charlotte.
Look over here. Come quick.
The 7 dwarves all came running up, and they cried out with amazement.
Oh, good heavens! This child is beautiful!
They did not wake her up, but let her continue to sleep in the bed. Next morning, Snow White woke up, and when she saw the 7 dwarves, she was frightened.
Oh no! Don't be afraid of us. What's your name? My name is Snow White. How did you find your way to our house? My stepmother tried to kill me, then the huntsman let me free, and that's how I had to run the entire day through the forest finally got to your house.
The dwarves spoke with each other after a while. And then said,
We said, if you keep the house for us and cook, make beds, wash, sewing, knit, keep everything clean and orderly, then you can stay with us. And you also have everything that you want. I don't know what that is. Yes, from my heart.
So Snow White lived happily with the dwarves. Every morning they went into the mountains looking for gold. And in the evening, when they came home, Snow White had their meals ready and their house cleaned. Meanwhile, at the palace.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who in this land is the most beautiful of them all? You, my queen, are beautiful and it's true. But Snow White with the 7 dwarfs still have it's more beautiful. Now I understand. All that huntsman deceived me. I have to think of something.
She went into her most secret room and she made a poisoned apple.
With this poison apple, you will die, Snow White.
From the outside, the apple was beautiful and shiny, but anyone who might eat a little piece of it would die.
Would you like to taste one of my sweet apples? No, I cannot accept anything from strangers. Are you afraid of poison? Look, I'll cut the apple in two. You eat half, and I will eat the other half.
But only one half of the apple was poisoned.
Well, all right. I can see that you are also eating part of it, so give me the other half.
She barely had a bite in her mouth when she fell to the ground, dead.
Stop. Snow, white as snow, red as blood, black as ebony, shall the dwarves never awaken you. Goodbye, Snow White.
Back at home, she asked her mirror,
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who in this land is the most beautiful of them all? You, my queen, are the most beautiful of them all.
When the dwarves came home that evening, they found Snow White lying on the ground. Snow White, wake up. What has happened to you?
What number? 3.
Snow White, wake up. What happened to you? She's not breathing at all. She's dead.
They lifted her up and looked at her for a long time. Snow White, wake up. Talk to us, please.
Snow White, wake up. Talk to us, please.
But nothing helped. She was dead. They laid her on the bed of straw, and all the 7 dwarves sat next to her and cried for 3 days. They were going to bury living person and still had her beautiful red cheeks.
Looking at Billy holding the black horse. Let's make a transparent glass top so we can see her from all sides.
And they did it. When they put her inside the coffin,
We need to place the coffin right outside of the mountain. And one of us will always stay with it. Yes, we will do that.
and one day a prince entered these woods. He saw the coffin on the mountain with beautiful Snow White in it.
We will not sell it for all the gold in the world.
Then give it to me. I cannot live without being a
The good dwarves felt sorry for him and gave him the coffin.
Take good care of her. We will always love her.
I wish she will be my closest treasure.
The prince had his servants carry the coffin away on their shoulders. But then it happened that one of them stumbled on some brush.
Be careful, watch your step. I will never forgive her if something happens to her.
But this dislodged Snow White's throat with a piece of poisoned apple. She opened her eyes, lifted the lid from her coffin, sat up, and was alive again.
Where am I? You are with me. You are with me. I love you.
At that moment, Snow White fell in love with him. Their wedding was planned with great splendor and majesty. Snow White's wicked stepmother was invited to the wedding. But before leaving her castle, she asked her mirror,
Mirror on the wall. Who's the most beautiful of them all? You might be my beautiful energy, but young queen is 1,000 times more beautiful than you. I have to see this for myself.
When she arrived at the wedding, she saw Snow White.
No, you're dead. You're dead.
Take this woman away from this land.
And no one saw the evil queen again. And Snow White and the prince lived happily ever after. The end.
Ready, Beth?